So on this project, we're going to make us a strainer pumpkin. This is an oldie but a goodie, so we might as well call this the Pumpkin Express. Now, I took my pliers to get this bent originally, but once you get that bent, guys, it's going to pop. And we only want to bend one of them and break it loose. The other one is going to be the piece that we're going to glue this one to. We're going to use the potpourri from Dollar Tree. This one happens to be the warm maple syrup, and I will adorn this with essential oils to keep it fresh as time goes by, because this will be closed up and sealed. Because this is the mini strainer, you can also use the large one, and we're going to be bending these feet so that it will sit, and then that way it will be around for good scenting and throw scent out. So the first thing I want to do is, I've already removed my arm from off this base. I've got this base, and we just want to start putting our potpourri in there, and maybe one or two of these. One thing's for certain, this is going to be a pleasure to work with, because these smell so good. And it will not take a lot. As you can see, you'll have your strainer filled up pretty quick. But I am going to put enough in there that it can soak up my essential oils. And then I'm going to place a couple of these in there. And like I said, this is going to be the Pumpkin Express. And see, I'm just wiggling it out. You could probably pull this out with your hands, but since I had those right there, it was just as handy. And I just think this is so cute. Like I said, this is I saw this a couple of years back, and it still gives off scent, and it just lasts forever. If we put that on there, that just looks adorable. I removed some additional metal from off this with my needle nose pliers. They have a cutter on it, and I positioned everything pretty much like what I want. But I do like to have a dual temp glue gun, and it just gives me more versatility. I can use it with more crafts, and I don't have to switch guns. I can just use the same one. Now that we've got our pumpkins in there and got our screens glued together, and it is smelling fantastic, we want to take these feet down here and take you a pair of pliers, or pliers will be the best, and you're going to bend your feet backwards, and then these you want to bend forward. And what you're doing is creating feet so that your pumpkin strainer sits upright. Now I'm just going to put some glue there and put a little bit of jute twine, because I'm actually thinking about taking some ribbon and placing it here instead. And then that way I can really decorate my pumpkin, make her look cute. So I have this piece of ribbon that I had cut, and it was the wrong size for what I was doing, and I did not want to waste it. Waste not, want not, as they say. So I'm going to use that to cover my handle. So to finish it off, I added some jute twine to the bottom of the handle again after I had completed the ribbon. For some extra character and interest, I am going to add one of my little ball mason jar ornaments. And I will put a link in the description box down below for the affiliate for Amazon, where you can get these, and you get a large assortment. There are the medium size and the small size. I think I like that one the best, first one. You know me, I just reuse everything. And it still has the wire in the upper edge. And I want to cover up where I brought that ribbon around the front. And so I am adjusting here to see how much. I glued the burlap ribbon around that handle on that raw edge, but before I completely buckled it down, I glued the jute twine underneath it on one side for the ornament, and then after I finished gluing the burlap, I tied it. For this pumpkin, we're going to use this one that's the Velvet's pumpkins from Dollar Tree. We're also going to use this luau skirt. I have braided some of that luau skirt, As you can see here, guys, some of these I braided and some of these I just plaited that I want. Now, to determine how much burlap I need, I could actually just go with that whole piece right there. But because I use this for other projects, I'm actually going to cut a whole section. And I will glue that on first. Then I'll encase my pumpkin with the rest. That way I get the coverage there. I proceeded to glue my burlap on there, that square, and then I went ahead and encased it. And to finish it off, I pretty much just wrapped it like a gift. But you guys, I did this on purpose because I'm planning on adding an ornament to it. I'm going to take that luau skirting that I braided, and I'm going to avoid this area. I left it open for a reason. I'm going to put a little sign right there. So making sure that I glued that carefully around my pumpkin and just placing that luau braided skirting into the areas and cutting off the excess. And the whole time making sure of deliberately putting it where I wanted it to prepare it for my little ornament. Now for my area right here, guys, I'm going to do two things. One, I'm going to swipe the pumpkin from off of this sign that I got at Dollar Tree. I'm just taking my putty knife, and as you can see, it just slides right off. Next, I'm going to take my red checkered ribbon, and I need roughly probably a 3-inch or 4-inch square. So I actually cut out 2 hearts by folding my ribbon and just cutting a heart shape. Glued it onto the pumpkin along with the little metal ornament, and that would have it set just like what I wanted. There we go. We have our primitive farmhouse burlap pumpkin. This came from the Dollar Tree. It has the Fate Family and Friends, which I wish to utilize. I love the gray background. It's very farmhouse. I have the pumpkins from the Dollar Tree, but before I do, I'm going to put a dab of glue in that little ornament hole, and that way I can paint over it. I'm just going to dirty up my brush a little bit with a little bit of that truffle from off the lid. So I did some light dry brushing of the truffle onto the pumpkin to give her that style and that shape, and very simple with white Waverly chalk paint. Have that little ridge to them. You can just pull a little string right there, or edge too. As you can see, I only painted the front because I'm not going to be seeing the back. And use your sanding sponge whenever you have painted this, because the grains will be lifted a little bit. And what they'll do is they'll help your paint marker to write very, very smooth on this surface. Let me do the whole fray thing on it. But worn and tattered, but rustic old look to it. For our farmhouse fall pumpkins, and I have ribbon remnants along with a leftover ribbon spool. Also, to make the stem for your pumpkin, you could use some broken pieces or leftover ice cream sticks, because this will give it character. If I take this one ice cream stick and I glue parts and pieces of these others to it so that it's kind of got a up and down, and then that way I can make it as tall or as short as I like. And then that way they don't have to be so perfect. You can use whatever you've got. That's why they call it DIY, because we can make it work. That's what we do. Okay, so that's going to be my stem. Now I've got that glued together. I am using leftover ribbon remnants fairly wide, and I'm not really worried about that because you're just going to let this bow out a little bit. You're not going to make it square. You're going to give it some distance. Let it poke out at least an inch or two, and then that way you can put that where you want it and bow it out as much as you like. And just be consistent with your loops. I continued gluing my ribbon across there and bowing it out and just checking it to make sure that they were even and all the same length and size. And it took approximately 4 strips, and I just did mine in various colors of the ribbon I had left over. So once you glue your ribbon on, guys, you may have to cut your hole like I did. And then I'm going to stick my sticks in there. I'm going to mark it with my marker so I know how far down to wrap my sticks. And you can bring your ribbon in tighter if you want to. It doesn't have to be like right there at it. You don't have to be bowed out this far. You can actually put it closer to your spool if you want to. And this is just going to make it sit a little flatter. I've got this leftover burlap piece of ribbon that I used on the previous project, and I am just going to wrap that around my stick and make it look more like a pumpkin. So I finished my burlap off, and then I adorned my pumpkin after I glued the stick into the center with, you know, some leaves, some maple leaves that I had, and I had some berries, and I really wanted that variation of orange, red, purple. And then I had this little teeny tiny sunflower, and I decided that'd be perfect just right there.
Hey there, let me introduce myself. I'm Elizabeth, and you have landed on the Dandy Soap DIY channel. And I really appreciate you taking the time to view this video. I have added in this video is everyone loves the truck. So do I. It is next to my heart. But I have added some feet and a light. And I think you guys will like the way I rigged it up. So enough of this chit-chatting along. We got to get back to crafting. So I'll see you in there.
This next pumpkin, Farmhouse Decor pumpkin, you can use either the clay pots or you can use the metal favor pots from Dollar Tree. So all these supplies, every single thing I'm using came from the Dollar Tree, including the little pumpkins. Other things as well. The first thing I'm going to do is, because I'm already using this particular ribbon, I'm going to take this little piece I've got left over, and that'll just hold it down for me. I'm going to put that wire edge up because I can tuck that inside or I can cut it off. Next thing I'm going to do, guys, the Play-Doh. And this is very low, so it will sit down in there, but I'm going to kind of rub it a little bit with my hands and push it up because the bottom of my little clay pot there is smaller in the bottom. So basically, you'll take your reindeer moss and your hot glue gun and lay you a layer down, your filler down as well. Make sure that your moss is at least running over the pot for the time being. We'll trim it up later. We have this pumpkin we can put there, and then we can pick the next one and then the next one. Now this one, to cheer it up, I'm going to use this Agate by Waverly chalk paints. I'm going to actually cut that top off because I'm going to be putting the other one on top of it. I am going to put some paint on it just so in case something comes through. And on this pumpkin, since I'm going to be using it, I'm going to have to take this stem off because I'm going to be building these on top of each other. And I'm going to glue that directly to my moss bed down here. Try to center it as best as possible. And my next one is going to be my little green one. And I know I'm not going to need that much of a stem on him to put into the next pumpkin. That way they stay together. Okay. And then our white one going up top here. Let me cut this stem off of this one. I'm going to be using this one instead. So I began adding my moss in between my pumpkins. Then I put on the white one and added moss in between, trimmed it up all around, and just made sure the moss was filling in all the spaces. All right, gang, I know you were worried about it being ragged on the end and so forth, and this is how I fix that, because you can reuse anything you got and you can tie up your ends, and jute twine makes it totally gone country and gives it that country feel and beauty that is so traditional. Now for an extra touch on this, I've got these little chalkboard wood stakes from the Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to take one of these and I can put it in here with my topiary. So I hope you guys enjoyed making the little mini pumpkin topiary. Now I got the truck from the Dollar Tree. From Waverly, I'm going to use it because I really am a big fan of the blue truck. It's kind of a greenish blue color, and it's really, really attractive. It's just a beautiful blue green color, very sea coastal color. And so I'm going to very quickly brush that base on to my truck. Now I'm going to do my pumpkins, and this is actually the Waverly pumpkin. And now I'm going to be speeding through this, but I went back and I painted the wood around the back end with the truffle to fix what I'd messed up. Silvered my hubcaps and whitened the tires. I also take that silver and I trim around the little window, the handle, and the door. What I also did is I took my black marker, paint marker, and I will put the outer edge for the tires, because originally back in the day, all tires were recapped. Because you were poor, you couldn't afford an actual tire. So they would be white with the black rubber recaps on them. And I used a black magic marker to really make them intense. So to get it all in direct proportion, and the shading and so forth is just dry brushing. But I hope you guys enjoyed painting your truck as much as I do. So we've got our vintage truck painted and set. And I am wanting to set my truck up. So I'm going to take two of the wooden pieces from Dollar Tree, the wooden stems, and glue it to the area where the tires are back here, so that I can get this to set up for me. If it turns out that I don't like it, I can take them off and just apply this to a sign, or I can hang it back up. Okay, we've got our wood stems on there, and voila, our sign will set up and it will have a lean to it, so it sets up really, really good. It looks nice. To show you what I have in mind with this tea light, I'm going to pull that little plastic piece out that helps it to burn, and I am wanting to place that back here so that it gives a silhouette behind my pumpkins when it's sitting up. So what I'm going to do is, I know that I want that tea light to sit about there. I'm going to take one of the wood stems and I'm going to glue it there so that it will hold up my tea light. I will need it just so it stays put. So my sign will be sitting, and it's on an incline. I've got my tea light. I'm going to place it on the little wood stem. And voila, blue truck. using some Scotch tape. I Scotch taped my tealight to the back. Stay tuned for the B-roll. Well, to say that she is not a beauty would be an understatement. Oh boy, she always has my heart a-thumping. I love the little blue truck, but it hits closer to home. My father and I, this is some of the best memories I have with my dad. And, well, I'm not going to get emotional, but here is our ribbon pumpkin. Here is our mini pumpkin topiary. It's adorable. It is happy fall, y'all. This would cheer someone's desk up and really make them feel good, and a great celebration of all the bounty that the good Lord has brought us. I hope you enjoyed doing these DIYs as much as I love bringing them to you guys. Now please enjoy the music, enjoy the blue truck, and if you'll look closely in the background, I'm going to give you guys a sneak peek of some ideas that are coming up soon in the upcoming videos. Please subscribe so that you don't miss out on these great ideas. Thank you so much for coming along. This is Elizabeth, over and out. Bye guys.